Maybe I could do a 5-minute monologue.
That table's got to be really back.
We are.
You're on.
Yep.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Conservation easement to protect the wildlife. And you can do it there. You still have to. You're on.
Just for the record, everybody's live streaming talk. No obscene gestures.
From this group.
Rowdy once in a while.
Well, he's heading over the belt. Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
Wish I did, but the court's roof slopes.
Yeah.
They can't put it again.
I'm gonna get a jar of vinegar and some dish soap, put it in the middle of the table in a minute.
My brother said he wasn't getting heat in the second floor.
Yeah.
He's had this thing installed for 10 years. They never let the thermostat wire up. I found it today wrapped up in rafters. Look at all the money we saved.
Yeah, 2 beeps.
I called him, he usually call me back. I said, oh, okay, fix that, can't we? You can call me today, I think it's more.
This was just probably last week. So I'm gonna set up a coffee and then I'm going to.
Question
John,
my hat.
You were looking for some funding for your project,
I have to.
write a letter to the Greenland veteran, your watch 13.
Till 12. Yeah.
A lucky number. Okay, people, 7 o'clock, welcome to the Greenland Board of Selectmen meeting. Start a roll call to my right.
Steve Smith,
Jessica Durkee.
Rick Huzzy.
Jim Rawls. Chip Hussey. We have a quorum, the meeting's being recorded and live streamed. First on the agenda, we have Eagle Scout Project, Matthew, is it Reeves?
Yes.
Boy, did that one good.
So Matthew has approached the Conservation Commission to do a project using Thompson Brook. He's proposing to build a small bog bridge and some signage for the Thompson Brook Trail. The project was recently approved by the Scouting Board, and he'll be doing some fundraising for the project. Introduce him.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Reeves. I'm with Troop 164 in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I have worked with the Conservation Commission before, and for my project I will be completing a loop of the Thompson Brook Trail. I will be installing 5 bog bridges in the wet spots, laying down mulch to help prevent erosion, setting up a railing to keep hikers off a part of the trail that was cut too low, and installing a trail sign to keep hikers off of private property. I am in the final stages of planning for my project and plan on starting the fundraising in 2 weeks.
Any questions from the board?
Sounds good.
That sounds good. So 2 weeks of fundraising and then how long to start? Estimate.
A week or 2 after that.
Excellent, excellent. Anything we can do to help?
I can't directly, I can't get funds directly from the Conservation Commission. But anyone that has a business with supplies or materials that I can use for my project, or donations of money would be helpful.
Okay. How would people donate to you?
So all the donations, go to the troop. The troop kind of holds the money, and then they disperse it to, buying supplies or, the day of the event, he's bought in bottled water or whatever.
All right, great.
So yeah, so anything, and we already, Jim already provided someone that we can reach out to, veterans organization. So
Excellent.
yeah, so we can. But yeah, if any of you guys have any other suggestions of people we can reach out to,
All right.
but he's got a couple fundraising events already
Great.
set up.
Great.
I would recommend asking Wolves. They're usually pretty
Yeah.
civic minded.
Right.
And Tractor Supply may help also.
Yes, Marcia?
Marcia McLaughlin from 47 Nantucket Place. Make sure that you approach the Greenland Women's Club. We have always sponsored the Eagle Scout projects.
Thank you.
And we are live streaming, so everybody that's watching is. Hello, commercial break. Thank you very much.
Okay. Do I have a motion, gentlemen?
I move to approve the Eagle Scout project proposed by Matthew Bruce along the Thompson Brook Trail. We understand he will build small board bridges and signage, and he will raise funds for the project.
Second.
All in favor? Very good. That didn't hurt much, did it?
Easy. Almost famous.
Okay, next on the agenda is conservation easement 681 through 683 Post Road.
Mr. Wallyberg has been in touch with Attorney Peter Laughlin, who is our attorney as well, but in this case he is representing Mr. Wallyberg, so town funds are not being used for this at this time. If we want a town review of this proposal, we would hire a separate attorney to do the review. Peter contacted me and asked if it would be okay if he represented Mr. Wallyberg in this matter, and I said that would be fine. We'd hire another attorney to do the final review should the board want to go that direction. Essentially, he's looking to place his property into a conservation easement. There are organizations out there like Southeast Land Trust that also help administer conservation easements, but there's a lot of steps involved, and you can bypass a lot of that by going to the town directly and asking the town basically to hold the easement, and that's what's being done in this case. He's asking the town to hold a conservation easement on the property to prevent development. Those are his wishes and those of his wife, and the proposal here is outlined in the letter. Essentially, it would just restrict development, further development of the existing property at 681 and 683 Post Road. And Attorney Laughlin has asked the town to provide feedback as to whether or not this is something that the town would be agreeable to, should there be no cost to the town for accepting the conservation easement.
Any questions?
Yes. I think a couple of years ago, didn't we have something come up in regards to the back part of his property and getting a right of way?
Right away.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how would this affect that? If anybody?
Right away, if I remember right, and I used something from CRS for the record, was running onto D.E. Cook's right away is what he was looking to get, wanted town's help convincing him to do that. I guess there was negotiations back and forth, and it came down to a matter of money, and nobody wanted to pay, so. But they worked it out in the end. But I don't know if there's still an official right of way or not.
I guess I'd like to see that resolved before we approve this.
That goes to, I think, a separate portion of property that goes to his son. But we don't want to get in that cat fight either.
Okay.
There is a right of way going across Wally's property, but that was never developed. And it's probably one of the worst places to put a driveway on Post Road.
And I have a question also, the piece next door, Mr. Cook has come before the planning board to put 2 lots on that piece of property next door, so I'm wondering how the buffers and the setbacks set for his proposed project.
Well, he's got the 75-foot setbacks that you're dealing with.
I'm just saying that would be Mr. Berg's concern probably of that project going forward.
Is that, Rick, and
If you look at the map, it's the house, it's the lot right next
Henderson,
door.
okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes. You know, it's this, sorry. Yeah, this is where he's gonna go out back with two lots out back there, or a lot out back.
Who does 8 belong to, Steve?
I'm sorry?
Who owns 8? There's another small lot back there.
DOT.
That's a very good question.
That's Department of Transportation.
DOT owns it?
That's what Laura says.
Oh, they own it?
So I can get back to Attorney Laughlin with some of the concerns and
Yep.
ask if they be looked into before the board moves forward with it, if that's the board's pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Anybody have any problem with that, for the record?
Laura?
Very good.
I had one question on it. In your, it wasn't clear, it's about 5 acres, how much he wanted to put into the easement.
That we don't have yet.
Yeah, I didn't see that, because does he want to carve out the area for the house and not have that be in an easement?
Actually, he has 2 residents on the property plus some outbuildings.
Right, so that it seems
That's
to
all
me.
gonna be worked out. They usually give a piece, like on outhouses, property, they cut out a piece for them to have a house and stuff.
Just the exclusion area, how big is the exclusion area for that?
But that's something they've gotta work out. You know, they can't include the well or the septic system in the, you know, in the.
And
Conservation.
it seems to me that if the town is going to accept the easement, that it would be good if there was a stated place for the town to be able to get back there to monitor the easement.
Well, they would have access, they'll have a right to go right down the driveway that we're gonna take it.
So it'd be good if
That's
that
the
was
way that
clear.
works.
Right.
And this doesn't mean that everybody can go walk on everything, we notify them that they go in and they go down and monitor the easement. Doesn't give people rights to go on the property. All right, next, we have no individuals, we're moving on to long minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019 as written.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain since I was not here.
Okay, Coakley update.
I have no update this time.
Okay, police library update.
Again, moving forward, there's no real update from the court. I included an update in your packet regarding some correspondence with the library architect regarding, roof replacement. The project's not bound by previous LCHIP funding because there was no LCHIP funding, is my understanding, so they're not held to the higher standard that some historic properties are, so that's a good thing. Because it gives them more flexibility with what design to use regarding the roof replacement, while still making it clear which is the historic part of the building and which is the new part of the building. You basically want to try to marry the two, but still preserve the historic aspects of the new building, old building. If that makes sense. Okay.
Moving right along. CIP.
Okay, CIP forms have been submitted by department heads and board. Chairman Hussey had some included here too. These are for the board to review or comment on. And so they are presented in their entirety in your packet, so I'm not sure what the board's pleasure is if they want to review them.
Jim, you have a question?
Well, no, I think that we should announce what CIP is for our
Capital
listening
improvement
audience.
programs, folks. It's anything over $25,000 that we want to set up piggy banks for to save up for and kind of keep the tax rate flat. That's the goal of the selectmen on this board, at least. They aren't looking for any more spikes. I want to go over a couple of things here just to make sure, because I understand there's some confusion, especially like, maybe Steve can answer this better. Number 2, the town equipment reserve fund. Was there a question as to why we were doing that? Because the biggest problem we got is the dump, sorry. And the dump station. Been a dump for 60 years, it's still going to be the dump. We don't know what changes when our contract from the streaming that we're doing now for recycling. We don't know what's going to happen as far as, are we going to need another compactor or another container? What's going to happen? We have no plans to purchase any equipment for the town, a backhoe or a skid steer. That's all. Backhoe slowly coming back into better shape and stuff. So we want to just transfer that money over. So if we get hit next year that we have to buy new equipment, that we have the money and the funding available to do it and not get caught with our pants down. And as you see, some of them are a little bit more expensive than I thought they're going to be. The number 5 is strictly engineering. Somebody had some taxpayer had a question about that, and that's strictly engineering. Our hope is to kind of get to the point where we can get, if we're shovel ready, we might be able to sink a federal grant to get these projects done, but we can't do anything until we have the plans. Usually most of these federal grants do require us to be shovel ready now. They're not doing everything. Road maintenance of $500,000, that was recommended by a study the town commissioned 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was never done. We kind of nickel and diamond road maintenance, and it's beginning to look like that again. So we want to get back on track and get the roads back in a condition where they're safe. The library parking lot, I guess that maybe and the improvements to that intersections up there, we can stretch that out for an even longer period of time after I start getting some of the prices. We can go 5 to 6 years on that, because it's mainly this parking lot won't be the expense, it'll be the road.
Could you explain for everyone where that parking lot's going to be?
Yeah, if you go down Church Lane from Portsmouth Ave, which means you come around, you're heading up this way and you take the loop around. There's a green area off to the right. We're planning to go into that green area 25 feet to set up parking and connect to the sidewalk for there to give the library parking and also second is a municipal parking lot. And, you know, the church can use it on Sundays, or if there's something going on in the school and there's overflow, instead of parking on the road, it'd be a little safer. There's also thoughts of shutting off Church Road and making that whole thing in parking. If the Division 6 lets us.
And the board needs to decide what direction they're going with that too, because as of yet, we haven't approved anything for parking, but there are options, as Chip stated. One would be closing off Church Lane completely, and you could put more parking there than if you just carved out a little bit to the right. So there's a number of different options, so the board would need to decide what direction they want to go, if they want to do anything there at all. But that is a reasonable estimate, I think, for such a project.
Everything seems to be coming in about where that's at. But we could, as I said, we could extend that out so it isn't such a big hit.
For the record, I'm against it. I think it should be removed.
Okay.
Or the library, some of that should come out of the library fund. Seems like we're giving a free parking lot there. We're giving free parking to the church. Municipal for what services? What actually happens on that this would be a municipal benefit other than churchgoers and library goers?
So right there would be school goers. Right now, if you get a heavy function at the school, they're parked all over the place.
How many parking spots are we gonna?
Well, the first one we looked at is 20, but Jim came up with another couple ideas, but it all becomes hinging on Division 6 will let us change the
Right,
connection there.
right, so that,
So
that's.
this is so green right now.
That's my reasoning for, I'd like that struck. No. I don't support that at all. For the record.
Well, for the record, I do support it. I think it's something that the town's gonna need to
Actually, the
solve
parking
a lot
lots,
of problems.
parking lots are cheaper of the jobs. We got a drainage issue there and some road work that needs to be done. Gravels will be our own gravel coming out of the dump area there that we have in storage. There's plenty there, so all we're doing is talking truck in there and paving. Drainage doesn't look like we're gonna have to play with that. That's what the engineer's gonna decide.
Yeah, the engineer has been contacted just to try to get a preliminary budget figure so that you'll have the information, a more concrete number than this, to help decide whether or not to move forward with it, based on an estimate. Which could fluctuate quite a bit when it goes out to bid, if it goes out to bid.
Yeah, that's
Is that it?
This town, we got a couple other, cemetery gave us no anticipated expenses.
Chip, I have a couple things if you want to go back for just a second.
Sure.
If you want to go back. Planning board met and reviewed some of these proposals. I just want to cover a couple things that we didn't talk about yet. I guess number 2, the equipment was kind of a question of what equipment we're going to work on.
Well, that's it, because there was a talk about buying a new backhoe for the town.
Right. I guess that was just a question of what equipment we need to
And then
work on.
we don't know what changes this recycle's gonna do to us, because we know we can't get rid of glass shortly, and we don't know what we're gonna do with that yet, and we don't know what plastic's gonna do.
Right. Number 4, public works building repair. Which building are we talking about? Are we talking about next door, or are we talking about out back?
Out back.
Okay, that wasn't.
No, that's fine. See, that's the DPW, this is public works, that's fine.
It's all good. I guess we consider the pedestrian bridge over 33 is actually a state project, so we kind of got to worry about the state being involved with that, so that's going to be.
But that's already in the works, but really, I just wanna get somebody working on it,
Right.
so somebody get hit and killed.
Number 6, the road maintenance capital reserve, is that 500,000 per year, or is that going to be stretched out?
Well, the recommendation was 500,000 per year, but we're beginning to catch up with what needs to be repaired. So if we watch ourselves, we don't have to keep going with a big hit, but we got, Bayside Road is the biggest road we got in town. And that's, we were looking at, not doing the 1.5 million that was recommended by the engineer. We're looking to a skinny coat and replace some culverts.
And you may end up tapping into the current capital reserve fund for road maintenance this year,
Which is,
to cover some of the overages on Water's Edge. And
yep.
that would need to be a board vote, but it's an option to help balance your budget this year.
There was a question on number 7 about the price of the air conditioning heating system. That was just a question of
Now, we probably aren't gonna have an accurate.
going out to bid. I
Yeah, the
guess.
RFP's gotta go out before we get an accurate bid on that. That may be a little hard, but I also looking at, we're gonna be doing some, we gotta take the shelves down, paint the wall, crap like that.
Yep, I guess we talked about the municipal parking, that's good. The fire station bond for 2024, we had, I'll bring it up later, but we had a meeting with the fire department building committee. John Reese's gonna come back at our next meeting with an updated budget, so to speak, for what would be for the next, either this year or following year for a new budget, so to speak, for that. Because it was budgeted 2.9 million, so it might be adjusted. I'm assuming it would go up. There was a couple of questions on the expansion reconfiguration of town hall office number 10. What would that cost? That was kind of a cost question, whether it is actually a capital improvement.
Well, it's gonna be over $25,000.
What's that?
It'll be over $25,000.
Well, that was the question, what's gonna be the expansion, the cost of, of doing that, there's no.
There's no money, we don't understand, that's a couple of years down the road if we get into that.
And, the outbuilding replacement, number 11, it says, the gazebo bandstand and rec buildings, but if you go back to number 1, that's a capital reserve for town buildings, period. So is rec buildings considered a town building, or is the gazebo or the, so it's kind of, does that go back to number 1 and we don't have to worry about putting that $10,000 into that thing, so. And that year's contribution of $10,000 was also a question, so. Those were the questions from the planning board on that part of the CIP, just so you know.
Yes, Jim?
I have a question on number 10 again. Again, we're kind of going back to this idea that the school is not going to allow voting while school is in session. Can't we get that resolved before we start putting aside all kinds of money for?
Well, we'd like to see it resolved. I would say if they're in session, one of the things that we can do, but they've been reluctant to do, is to move the voting into the gym. Some of it's got to be a give and take on their side, and if they're not willing to give and take, we can't do anything about it. But yeah, I'm just looking out for the welfare of the children, because we can sit 2 cops on the 2 doors that go into the school, and nobody can go in there.
I think there's certainly got to be a better solution than putting on an expansion on this building so that we can cover voting.
Well, the other thing would be to clean out the fire station when the new fire station is built and have it in there. But just something I put down because we got to look at it. We can't ignore it. Goes along, cemetery said they don't have anything. Conservation doesn't have anything. To answer your question, Laura, you don't have to wait for the request, you can always start planning on CIP.
Yeah, but it helps to know what your schedule is, and it helps to know.
The budget time starts first, about August 1st, we start ramping up, so. Okay, what do we got here? Library, nothing. The library. The police department. Replace existing facilities equipment.
Yes, they were concerned with their roof. And we're trying to budget money for a roof repair replacement in the future.
That's one of the reasons why I came up with the increasing, putting all the town buildings together, because everything else is in pretty good shape, and that would boost up that money a little bit faster on that account. But yeah, that was in the number one, change the police station to everybody. And recreation.
Recreation put in funds, a fund request rather, for repair, replacement, upgrades, and improvement of the quality and expansion of the athletics field. Total capital improvement cost they estimated at $80,000.
Town clerk didn't meet the criteria, but that's something that can be done.
That was due to it being below 25,000.
Yeah, but that's something that can be done with number one. And it's only, what we figure out, it's only $2,500 to do that repair, she told me. Get the door, then open automatically. And the school.
Yeah, at the police department, they have concerns with their roof. In this case, it's beginning to rust and get divots, and they're looking to put money aside for that, as well as the vents on the gym near the playground. They estimated that at $38,000 with a planned year of 2022 or 2023. And then if you look at the rest of the requests, additional classroom to address growing enrollment numbers, that's $30,000 estimated for outfitting classrooms.
There was some question I will bring up that the planning board had of the enrollment per se is growing, but it's not growing to that substantial effect that there is additional classroom space. I think what the problem is they're dividing up sections of the classes to fit in different rooms, so that's what the point is, making that additional classroom space usable. But the question was, where did they get the $30,000 budget item from? If they're taking down a wall or putting up a wall, $30,000 sounds like quite a expenditure. So that was a question from the planning board, which is on both of those pages, one for adding a wall to one of the rooms and taking a wall down.
Another section of the roof they're looking at replacing or repairing for $36,000. The next request was to replace vanities in the 1965 section of the building for 8 rooms. They estimated $24,000. And finally, they had concerns over wall removal in room 105, former teacher's room, to create an additional classroom. They estimated that at $32,000. And that completes the CIP for the school. As of yet, the Board of Selectmen has not formally voted on any recommendations for CIP. So if the board as a whole wants to endorse or support a capital improvement plan request, and it should be a formal vote of the board. These are good ideas to get the ball rolling and started, and I applaud Chairman Hussey for doing that. To go the next step, action should be taken by the board on any of the items that the board would like to present to the planning board. So.
I think they meet again and make their recommendations. I would suggest we wait for them to make their final recommendations on what they want to see done, to be fair.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone?
I can bring back any questions that you have to them. I mean, I would rather get a little guidance from you before then, but
Yeah, sounds good.
if you want me to go with some of these changes that we talked about, or some of these questions that we talked about.
Well, I would definitely on the parking lot and the improvements to the Portsmouth Ave area and Church Lane, I'd make that, convert that to a 5-year CIP instead of a 3.
Number 8.
Number
Yes,
8.
Changing number 8 to 5.
Yeah. Now we'll thin that out a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the other things.
The, as far as widening of Route 33, it's not on the 5-year plan, it's not on the 10-year plan, and it probably won't be on the 20-year plan. So it's too good of a bridge. That's what I'm looking at. I just don't know how we get a state or the federal government to get off their butt to do it unless somebody else gets the ball rolling.
Right.
I know I've heard, well, we can have the state do it, and the state just doesn't have the money.
Yep.
I'd love to have the state do the planning. That's all the planning right there, and they can do the engineering for it and get it done, but I haven't seen any interest from the
Yeah.
state even to do that. I just know it's a little hairy out there. It's not bad when it's bumper to bumper, but when it's not, it gets a little hairy crossing that bridge. Anybody else got any recommendations? No. All right, moving along, personnel policy.
Okay, no action is needed at this time on the personnel policy ideas that we have here from other communities regarding ownership of work product and personal use of town equipment. They are being provided at Chairman Hudson's request as examples of what other communities are doing to protect town property, specifically in the personnel policies.
We have had some abuses in the past, and I just want to get it under control. Read up. We may go at this next meeting.
Yep.
Other old business.
I had two things, but I answered one of my own questions reading further through the packet about the house on the corner of Cemetery Lane. There's an addendum to this packet, so I will skip that one. I mentioned earlier the Fire Department Building Committee met on the 11th. There was a question of whether both of us selectmen that are on the committee have a vote or a say as voting members of the committee, and that was going to be reviewed. Former Selectman Morgan is going to review that. Moving forward, the Fire Department building is going to, committee is going to continue with the design and engineering plans. Like I mentioned earlier, John Reese is going to come back with updated budget, and the next meeting is going to be on the 24th, I believe, of October.
Just as a correction so everyone understands, that's a brand new committee you're sitting on. The other one was dissolved when the vote failed. So everybody had to be reappointed that want to be reappointed. And you guys are on the committee, so well, who said you can't vote?
I guess that would be a question for Chief Cresta.
Because Chief Cresta doesn't decide, the Board of Selectmen decide.
Okay.
Does Chief Cresta hold a vote?
He has a vote, yeah.
He does have a vote, okay.
Yeah, he's on, you're an active committee member, and you were appointed to the new committee. You have a vote. That's my personal opinion.
I guess that was point of clarification because we were both there the other night.
Because actually the other selectmen can't come off that committee if they want to be advisory or whatever. If they want to be appointed, they can come back for us.
Right.
I know Bob's advisory, and maybe a couple other people are advisory.
Dennis Cody, who is
Yep.
emergency management, and who am I missing?
Don Miller.
Don Miller was
Don Miller,
member.
he got reappointed.
You did, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Dennis Malloy, I think he was the other. And my only other old business thing was, we talked a little bit earlier about different road projects that were gonna need to be done before winter, and I guess that just comes back to what we're gonna do for winter road maintenance or plowing and such, so. Further questions?
One of the things we gotta do is, we have a meeting with Mr. Jones. I know he's been sending his guys and we've been getting billed for seeing if the roads are slippery or not. I think we just eliminate that bill by having the police department call them out when they find that the roads are slippery. That's my personal opinion. They're already being paid to drive out there and this crap. I'm sure they can be the first ones to know it's slippery out. But I know we got several hundreds of dollars billed for the last storm to drive around to see if they needed salt.
You may want to check and see if your insurance covers the police going out to decide whether a road is safe or not.
Our thought is they're already out there.
They're already on the road.
But they're not rendering an opinion as to the safety of the road.
We would be covered.
I understand that there's cost savings, for sure, but just
Yes,
make sure
yes,
your
yes.
insurance is going to cover it.
You gotta, for the record, you gotta say your name.
Oh, Chris Keenan, 28 Sanderson Road.
All right. Anybody else got any old business?
Not at this time.
Okay, we have here, Weeks Library Trustees appointment of alternate.
The library trustees have requested that Jane Mann, 31 September Drive, be appointed as an alternate.
Any questions?
Marsh
You're on,
McLaughlin,
Marsh.
47 Nantucket Place. Jane has shown great interest in the library, is a supporter of our library, a user of our library, and because we are entitled to have 3 alternates, we would like to have you all appoint her. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I would just like to be appointed.
Just for the record, I noticed you spelled her name with one N.
That's
and
correct.
Is that the correct?
That's the correct
Okay, so
spelling.
we'll need to correct the, after the paperwork out.
One in.
Do I have a motion?
I move to appoint Jane Mann as an alternate for the Weeks Library Trustees.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we're gonna start off with the emergency management authorization.
Okay, so Dennis has asked our emergency management director, Dennis Cody, that we need to, or he'd like to be authorized by the selectmen to speak with the superintendent of the schools. This is regarding the Greenland schools serving as, as a place people can go in the event of an emergency. But before he went directly, he wanted to get the selectmen's blessing.
Any discussion?
Formality.
I was gonna say, is there?
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary, but he.
I had a question mark as to why, but I guess.
This is at Dennis's
pretty much.
request.
He feels better. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to authorize Dennis Cody, Emergency Management Director, to speak to South Australia Superintendent of Schools about using Greenland Central School in the event of an emergency.
Second.
Steve is the second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
I thought you had something stuck in your throat, you couldn't talk. Okay, MS1.
Okay, the final report for the MS1 is ready for review of the board. Final adjustments have been made by the assessor. The report is based on the valuation of the town, which the net valuation is currently $62,245,789. Prior to the reevaluation, the town was at $738 million.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the MS1 summary inventory evaluation as prepared and authorize the chair to sign the report to be sent to DRA.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, if I can get your signature there. Okay, the next one is the MS 535 approval. This is the financial report of the budget that's sent to DRA. And I will need each of your signatures on this. It's important so that we can get our tax bill sent out.
I would ask that my name be spelled correctly, because it is not on the one sheet underneath.
Oh, my apologies.
That's okay.
Stephen with a V,
Yes, sir.
or do you want Steve?
Stephen's fine.
Stephen.
Yeah,
Smith is correct, though.
correct, yes.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we move to approve the MS 535 financial report of the budget as prepared and submitted to the Department of Revenue Administration.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll take, if I could collect your signatures now on that.
Next we got MS 434.
Yeah, this is the revised estimate revenue summary, another DRA form. There'll be another opportunity to revise revenues, the tax rate setting in October. This is the estimated revenues that we prepared.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the MS 434 revised estimated revenue summary as prepared and authorized by the town administrator to sign and submit to the DRA.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Columbus Day.
Okay, so this one, so Monday, October 14th is Columbus Day and a holiday. Town offices will be closed. And does the board want to move the scheduled meeting to October 15th? And the finance director, again, will need board approval to submit the payroll on Tuesday morning to be approved at the meeting on Tuesday night if the board does change the meeting date.
Do I have a motion?
Doesn't matter to me.
I don't care. I don't usually go on and celebrate Columbus Day.
You're gonna run around.
I can't make it the 14th anyway, so that would be better.
Better be.
To move it to the 15th?
Yes.
All right, I move to change the Board of Selectmen meeting to Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. The Finance Director may submit payroll on Tuesday morning, October 15th, 2019. It will be approved at the board meeting on Tuesday night.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Other new business.
I met with RPC representatives today regarding MS4 stormwater management. We're still continuing to work on that. It's a big project. I'm very thankful for their assistance. This is Smart Septic Week. I've been asked to remind the audience, both here and listening on the internet, that from Monday, the 16th of September to Friday, September 20th, this is Septic Week. That's the EPA event that they like to make sure that people know that there's a lot of helpful tips on maintaining septic systems which help keep Greenland's waterways green. And we're including those on our Facebook page. We have 5 different updates, so keep an eye on our Facebook page. They're important septic updates on how to keep your septic system clean and healthy.
Jim?
I'd like to know why all these little bugs are flying around.
We would
That's good or what?
for the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of fruit flies in the building.
Well, let's ban bananas for a couple of weeks or whatever the problem is.
I also wanted to mention that the board will receive the proposed selectmen's ordinance for the MS4 illicit discharge detection and elimination in the packets for the September 30th meeting, and that will need to be moved forward to a public hearing on Monday, the 21st of October. So just to give you a heads up on that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Jim?
Just in regards to National Septic Week or whatever it is, I just got through having my septic system pumped out, and
We're proud of you.
I almost, well, I had not much choice. And it was strongly recommended that I change toilet paper to Market Baskets Premium.
2-ply?
And to get rid of the stuff that we used to use. So just a word to the wise, because a new field was gonna cost me $15,000 to $18,000, so I'd rather just pay to have it pumped every few months.
So you're saying don't squeeze the shower?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, we celebrated a week early here at the town hall because the septic pump broke out back, and we decided to have it pumped. We ended up actually celebrating by having it pumped twice because the first pump failed, and the new pump is in there and it's working very well.
Excellent.
Yeah, we celebrated 1 week early, but
We just set an example.
we wanted to
Bravo.
get on there. Thank you.
Anybody else got any business?
I do have something. I'm looking at the building inspector correspondence, and I would recommend that perhaps somebody proofread these things before they go out to the public. This is new to me, that significant wood rot is spelled W-R-O-U-G-H-T instead of R-O-T.
Okay, spell checker.
Yeah, rot is a word, but let have God rot, but it doesn't apply to that building. And there were a few other problems here that probably should be checked. I can't remember where I saw them right at the moment, but anyway.
I will let him know.
After we get off the air, I'll tell you something happened to our planner with the spell check. Check, the spell check is all I'm gonna tell you. Anything else?
Nothing.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
We're not done yet.
Oh,
Payroll,
oh,
manifest.
We have a gentleman that,
go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Chris Keenan, 28 Sanderson Road. I spoke to Chip several months ago about the Recreation Committee, and there's been some openings. A lot went on this summer in the office and at home, so I finally got to a Recreation Committee meeting the last meeting, which I think was a little over a week ago, and sat down with them. Unfortunately, they didn't have a quorum. So clearly, something needs to be done. My understanding is there are a couple of members that, from that meeting, there are a couple of members of the Recreation Committee that are looking to step down because the kids have aged out, etc. I would be looking for the position, and my background is I was chairman of the Recreation Committee for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, something like that. I also headed up the soccer program and was the assistant director of the softball program. I have no children in the rec anymore. I have no dog in the fight anymore at all. But my experience is, I brought my child through the Greenland Rec and then through summer activities and very good summer teams and teams for field hockey, which enabled her to go to Tufts University and come away with 4 NCAA national championships. So I have a pretty good idea of how to get from A to B on this thing. And my philosophy on recreation, my personal philosophy is, number one, it's for the kids. If the parents screw up, I don't blame the kids. So I would take kids in 3 weeks into a season. I didn't care. Just because a parent forgot to sign up or whatever. So number one is for the kids. Number two, the primary purpose is for the kids to have fun. Number three, you have kids in rec ball and rec activities that really want to get better. So you have to have a philosophy with your coaches that not only makes it fun for the group, but enables that special player to be able to get better along with them. Now, eventually, they're going to have to leave the rec and go to independent teams and more competitive teams. But that's my philosophy with the rec, that it should be fun, but you also need to take care of the kids that are very good. I would be interested in being appointed. I had a great time the last time around, and now I don't have a dog in the fight, so it should be even a better time.
Did you have to go through Sharon?
No, actually, it goes to us. We gotta fill out a piece of paper in the end here, but I move we appoint Chris Keenan to the Recreation Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have that around?
Yes, you can just check in with Charlotte and she'll.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we got
For volunteering.
we got the manifest. Notice how exciting it is, everybody's leaving.
You're not writing a check for us.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to meet you. So.
Manifest?
No problem.
Okay.
That's yours.
Great, thank you.
I'll take this one back down here, read it.
I move we approve the attached manifest of unpaid bills detailed as of September 19, 2019, in the amount of $345,566.35. This manifest includes the Greenland School District payment of $250,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go for it.
Hereby make a motion, we hereby approve the attached manifest for unpaid bills detailed as of September 19th, 2019, in the amount of $2,080. The funds are to come from the Capital Reserve Fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's the library capital reserve fund.
Yeah, it's the Library Capital Reserve Fund,
Making sure, thank you.
number 11.
And I have payroll manifest, number 19. Make a motion, we hereby approve payroll manifest number 19 for September 19th, 2019 through and including September 15th, 2019. In the gross amount, excluding payroll liabilities, of $67,897.14.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go for it, Jim.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.